Yo, welcome to the latest edition of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Today's show, man, is got an interesting show for you guys today. And when you come in, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe when you come across the video. Put your post notifications on so you'll know when Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Like I said, we cover sports, hot topics, roundtable talk, and the Marriage Chronicles. And you know what my mantra is: tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. Today's show is very interesting, man. And as you know, Jason Whitlock is in the news again. You know, recently he had some comments that he said toward Deion Sanders. Now he's taking it a step further. Right now, he has made some comments about Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe, and the real reason why Shannon Sharpe was ousted from Fox Sports and Undisputed. But before we get off into it, today's show is sponsored by...
This episode is sponsored by True Choice Insurance. Here at True Choice, we take a different philosophy when it comes to providing you with your insurance options. We emphasize the value of the products we offer, instead of playing on the fear of you not being protected in your time of need. True Choice is affiliated with more than 60 insurance companies. This makes us one of the most independent agencies in the state of Texas. Please visit TrueChoiceInsurance.com for all your insurance needs.
Once again, shout out to my man Brian Keller and his wife over there at True Choice Insurance. You guys get with them. Get on the website at www.truechoiceinsurance for all your insurance needs, and let them know K-Sap sent you. Well, Jason Whitlock has struck again. This time, just going through the internet, going through YouTube to produce the show today, and I came across something that said explosive. And it was something that Jason Whitlock had dropped on his podcast, Fearless, talking about, you know, the real reason why Shannon Sharpe was ousted from Fox Sports and Undisputed. If you guys can, you know, go back and think when Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith did the podcast on Club Shay Shay with Colin Cowherd, The Volume, before he made his debut on First Take, they touched on a lot of things. They talked about a lot of things. They talked about, you know, debated with the LeBron situation, the GOAT conversation. They talked about, you know, Stephen A. wanting somebody that was wanted. And, you know, when Stephen A. wants somebody, he gets it. But if Stephen A. don't want you, he's not going to take you. They talked on different topics. They talked about Skip and the totality of that and what they said about Skip. Skip, you know, gave him the opportunity. He actually gave Stephen A. an opportunity, and look what Stephen A. has done. He just took it to new heights. He gave Shannon Sharpe a platform. He was on Undisputed for at least 7 years, and that came to an abrupt end right after the NBA Finals. And they talked about, you know, the reason, and they talked about, you know, what they thought it was. And, you know, Shannon really never really touched too much about it. He really never said too much on it. You know, I'm just saying he was just like, you know, his time came to an end, and he didn't want to let, you know, 6 months of rigmarole, you know, ruin a 7-year, you know, relationship that he had with Skip Bayless. Right now, Jason Whitlock has produced a show on his Fearless podcast called Explosive, and he's talking about the real reason why Shannon Sharpe was ousted, you know, from Fox Sports and Undisputed. Now, my take on that is, you know, with Jason Whitlock, it always seems like Jason Whitlock finds a storyline when it involves blacks. You know, he never comes at different races and, you know, does things, but he, on his podcast, he invites, you know, the white people onto his podcast to sit there and listen to how he depicts the black person, the black athlete, and the black media outlet. And they sit there and listen to him, and they probably get a kick out of it, because it's almost like, you know, inside his own race, he's just demoralizing, cats. And, the white folks on this podcast will sit there and listen to it. It's entertainment for them. But you never see the white folks calling Jason Whitlock up to come on their podcast so they can talk about their race in general. You'll never see that happening. It's always Jason Whitlock, when he wants to talk about black folks, he always brings the white people onto his podcast, and he starts depicting the black athlete and the black media person and blacks in general. This latest episode with Jason Whitlock, I find it far-fetched because he said some things that how would Jason Whitlock know? Because Stephen A. came out, on his podcast, the reason why, Shannon Sharpe was let go, so it's who is telling the truth? So the thing about it is with Shannon Sharpe, he was with CBS. He, was behind some behavior that, CBS let him go. But the thing with Whitlock is kind of crazy because some of the things that he said about Shannon Sharpe, that is confidential information. So how would Jason Whitlock know the things that went on behind closed doors with Shannon Sharpe and the reason why he was ousted from, Undisputed in the FS1? Because after Stephen A. said what he had to say, Jason Whitlock came back to say, nah, that ain't it. Y'all need to cut it out. So we're going to sit here and listen to it in its entirety. And then when, y'all finish listening to it, we'll get back into it. So here's what Jason Whitlock had to say.
Shannon Sharpe needs to cut it out. I know what happened at FS1. I'm going to say this, speaking more specifically to Shannon Sharpe. Cut it out. Shannon Sharpe is trying to point a finger at a Fox executive or two, trying to smear them and put pressure on them and drum up a media storm of someone needs to be replaced, blame this executive, they pushed me out, blah, blah, blah. Shannon Sharpe needs to cut it out. I know what happened at FS1. And if Shannon and Stephen A. keep pushing this agenda, I'm going to expose all that I know. And I know all of it. And so, cut it out, guys. Shannon Sharpe's HR file is amazing. And they wanted him out for very good reasons. I just want you to know who Skip Bayless and Fox Sports and now ESPN are dealing with. Anybody at home, go call up the clip of a 50-year-old man sitting at courtside with his gay fashion designer at a Lakers game, and all that emotional energy and all that what went on with Shannon Sharpe. Does that look like a man who can control his emotions? Or does that look like someone who would snap and do unprofessional things, unbelievably unprofessional things in any environment? Fox Sports had no choice. None. Skip Bayless, in my opinion, had every reason to want Shannon Sharpe out of there after the Damar Hamlin situation. Shannon Sharpe, to use a term from the Shield or a gang term or what, he basically greenlit Shannon Sharpe. Greenlit Skip Bayless. He threw Skip Bayless under a bus and had Skip Bayless concerned about his safety in Los Angeles. Cut it out. And so they're trying to, it wasn't Skip that wanted Shannon out. Skip had no choice but to want to be out from underneath a very dangerous and emotional person.
Man, y'all heard what Jason Whitlock had to say. It's a lot that he said. First off, that I got out of there, he's bringing up the incident where Shannon Sharpe was courtside at the Lakers game against Memphis. That's what he's standing on. And that's his belief on, that's the reason why Skip had no choice to get him up out of there. Then he goes on to say his gay friend. So what are you trying to insinuate? Another thing is he said he threw Skip under the bus after the Damar Hamlin situation. Now, why is it all the time Jason Whitlock always defends the white person and always goes after the blacks? He's saying that he threw Skip under the bus. He's on Skip's side. And that's been in all cases that Jason Whitlock has been on the side of the other races. I don't care if it's the white person. I don't care if it's an Italian person. I don't care if it's an Hispanic person. He's never sided with the blacks in his own race. And like I said earlier, Jason Whitlock will never be called to a white podcast for the white podcasters to start talking about people within their race, and Whitlock is sitting back getting a kick out of it. Then he goes on to say that he knows it all. How does he know it all? Last I checked, he's independent. He don't work for Fox Sports or anything like that. So how does he have access to Shannon Sharpe's HR file? Wow, that's confidential. So who is leaking that information to Jason Whitlock that he has access to Shannon Sharpe's HR file? Also, what I get out of that is he's trying to drag Stephen A. Smith into it. So now it's becoming a war of words. It's becoming to a point where when Stephen A. said on Shay Shay's podcast that I just wanted you to feel wanted. That's why I came and got you. Basically, what Jason Whitlock is saying, that Shannon Sharpe was fired from Fox Sports in FS1 in Undisputed. And he knows it all. He said if they keep pushing this envelope, he's going to tell it all. So won't you write a tell-all book? Where are you getting your information from? That's the crazy thing about it is Jason Whitlock working behind the scenes? Does he have an ulterior motive? I mean, like you guys said before, Jason Whitlock stays in the news and, he does this to get, his ratings up. And he's saying some controversial things, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. But, I'm not saying that, some of the stuff that he's saying is outlandish or anything like that, but I'm just giving you my view that how does he have access to Shannon Sharpe's HR file? That's confidential stuff. And on another note, why is he saying he threw Skip under the bus after the Damar Hamlin situation? And also, he's bringing Stephen A. Smith into that. And Stephen A. Smith, Stephen A. Smith don't play. So this is going to get interesting, man. They're going back. This is like a tug of war. And like I said, Shannon, I don't know if Shannon's going to respond to this, but I know Stephen A. will, because Stephen A. already put something out on his podcast talking about the reason, why, he thought that Shannon was let go from FS1. But he never threw Jason Whitlock in there. Now Jason Whitlock is trying to throw both of them in there, throwing both of them under the bus, talking about they're lying. They just, putting up shows, fake news and things like that. But it's getting interesting, man. Jason Whitlock, he's a controversial dude, man. And everything that he says, man, it gets people in an uproar. Some of the things that he says is truthful. Some things that he says is just outlandish. But this situation, wow, we got to get our hands on this one. We're all over this, man. So you guys let me know what y'all think down in the comments on, the things that you heard what Jason Whitlock said. And like I've always said, Jason Whitlock strikes again. But that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
Another one.